Hey there, for this video we're going to be creating a subtractive model. Now subtractive modeling is really useful for whenever we're getting rid of material that we don't need. Now generally speaking, when you are doing 3D modeling, you're doing some additive and some subtractive. It's really important to know when to use each one, and as you do more you'll learn it. The main goal is to minimize the number of different commands you're using and the number of steps you take, because like everything, we want to be more efficient and quicker at our work. Alright, so for this one we're going to draw that pocket that we saw under subtractive modeling. So we're going to start just like we did last time by clicking sketch, selecting our sketch plane. Again, we want the front sketch plane, and clicking front view. And so now we've arranged it this way. Now, I could, if I wanted to, draw a big rectangle and just do the cutout that I had as my subtractive model. That's definitely one way. But that requires a few more steps and sketches and things like that. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the basic shape that I saw there. And then I'll go back and add dimensions in later. And I'm not going to worry too much about getting everything perfect just yet. Just basic shape, okay? There we go. That's our basic shape. When we look at the example, we have, these three flat sides. We have a little over, something down, an angle here, a flat there, an angle there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to use these different geometric constraints to kind of lock this in. I'm going to start with the equals command because this object is a symmetrical object. And so I know that I want this side and this side to be the same. I know that I want this side and this side to be the same. And I know I want this side. Oops, it didn't look like I clicked the right thing there. Let's try that again. By the way, to make it go backwards, all I did was hit Control and hold it, and then Z, and that's undo. Undo is a really useful command. Or, if you don't like to use the keyboard, right over here is this arrow, and it fixes mistakes. That's one thing I like about this. Be willing to take chances, because if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You just hit undo, and you try again. Alright, apparently those two are now equal, and then I want you and you to be equal. Okay, and so now I've got all those things equal. And now I want to go in and I want to start making sure that they're all straight. Now notice how this is at an angle. We don't want that at an angle. We want it parallel to this one. So I'm going to click my geometric constraint parallel and say I want you two parallel to one another. That's looking a lot better. This shape is now symmetrical and I like how it looks. Let's add some dimensions. Here on the side, we want it to be 3 inches tall. Down here at the bottom, we want it to be 4 inches. Oops, that did not work out the way I wanted it to. So I'm just going to hit undo, and I'm going to add some other dimensions first. I'm going to delete this one because that didn't work out good. So I'm going to come in and add some others. Let's see here, dimension. Well, I want this to be 1.5. So I'm going to make it 1.5. I want this to be 1. Again, notice how I'm throwing my dimensions on the outside of the drawing. I want this to be 0.5. Okay. And I don't like how that looks. It puts it there in the middle. It's hard to see. So I'm just going to pull it off to the side so that even if I'm zoomed out, it's easy to see that. Okay. And now I want to dimension this line here because I want to make sure those are at 45-degree angles. So how do we do that? Well, it's pretty easy. You click on the line, and you click on the line you want to give an angle to, and you just bring it out here to the side and type in 45. Then made that 45. And it didn't change this one. Well, that's because all of these lines are still blue because we haven't locked in how long this bottom dimension is. So let's go ahead and add that now and say I want this bottom dimension to be 4, and we've got a lot more things going on. Okay, see how a lot of those lines went from blue to black? Well, let's just keep dimensioning and see if we get it. Alright, see how that went gray? That's a driven dimension there. I don't feel like this one ever made the equals. Let's try my equal constraint there again. Equal, equal, It must be fine. I guess that is 1. So that's good there. All right, well, let's just add a dimension here. There we go. See, that's at 52 degrees, even though we wanted it 45. So now we've made it so that they're all the same length. Makes me wonder if these two weren't dimensioned equally before. Let's check that. Equal, equal. Yep, those were. So we just needed that dimension in there to lock that shape in. So 45, we have it. I'm done with this basic shape. It matches what I wanted it to match, and so I click check mark. Now what I'm ready to do is I'm ready to go ahead and extrude this guy out, and so I click extrude. I come over here to isometric, and I want to extrude it out 0.5 inches. We don't want this pocket to be huge. So 0.5, and I am going to do just a blind extrusion with this one. I hit check. Oh, see how it's red? That tells me I forgot to do something. Right here, I never told it what face I wanted to extrude. So now I click on the face, and now I hit check mark. There we go. So now I have this object. Now what I want to do is I want to add that pocket to the top. So here's something neat. So I'm going to create a sketch on this surface right there. But that doesn't mean that it's limited to this surface. I can actually create that sketch, and it can cross the whole thing. Okay? So I'm going to grab my rectangle. I'm going to click on the top command, and I'm going to see here that little square popped up right there. That square, that's a midpoint. That means that it's going to lock it in so that whenever I draw this, it's going to go from the midpoint of this one, and I want it to go to the midpoint of that one. So notice how I touched and then pulled it, and it's showing that it's locked in. And so now it'll always be at that. Notice how these lines are black. The only thing it needs to know is how far up do I want this dimension. So I click dimension. I'm going to click this line, pull over here to the side, and I want it to be 0.25, halfway. I say check, and I'm going to send it back to isometric, and now I'm ready to do the subtractive portion of this, which means I'm going to cut down, but it's still an extrude. Okay, so I click extrude, then see right here where I have the options of new, add, or remove. If I do new, it'll actually create kind of a new part. If I click add, then what happens when I click this is it'll add it to the part as if it's one thing, but I want to remove it. So I'm going to click remove. Now notice how it's highlighted this entire rectangle there, but not that one. I want to make sure I grab that guy too so that it cuts down. I'm going to do another blind one, and this time I'm going to go down 2.75, and I hit check mark. There we go. And so now you can see that I've got this nice little pocket. You may say, Mr. Quinn, how did you choose 2.75? Real simple. I wanted to make a pocket. If I made it 3 inches, it would have gone all the way to the bottom. See? 3, and it's gone. So that's not a very good pocket to have with a hole at the bottom. Okay? If I made it 2.5, it would be up here higher. It really was just a matter of preference. You see, I'm the engineer, so I get to choose how deep I want to make my pocket. Say, well, what if I wanted to make this thinner, Mr. Quinn? Well, then go ahead and make it thinner. I'm not stopping you. You are the engineer. You get to choose how to make it. All you want to be thinking about is how thin can you make it and still work with it. All right, that's how you do subtractive modeling.